Hello, everybody. I am Rabbi Robin Frisch, and I'm joined by Cantor Naomi Lehrman, and of course by Hope. And we all know that we are here for a very special reason to celebrate Hope becoming Bat Mitzvah. And it is a very nice time to do that on the Jewish calendar. In addition to being Shabbat, which will arrive soon, we are also on the verge of Sukkot, which is called Zman Simchatenu, the time of our rejoicing, very appropriately. And so it's a good time to be celebrating. Although I have to say, it feels in many ways these last few months like a different Jewish holiday, a holiday called Purim. And Purim is a silly holiday, but it's a holiday on which we wear masks. Anything familiar about that? And it's a holiday, we're told, where everything is turned upside down. Whatever is supposed to be is not. And I don't think anything could feel more upside down and topsy-turvy than the last 6 months that all of us have experienced. But thanks to the Goldman family, we are able tonight to remove ourselves from that a little bit, to step out of all of these difficulties going on in the world and to acknowledge them and to be safe and to be responsible, but to truly have a chance to celebrate. So, Hope, I want to thank you and your family for giving us that opportunity to forget for a few hours about our topsy-turvy world and to be here with you to celebrate. Just a couple of announcements. I want to ask everyone to please make sure that your cell phone is off. If it could, especially this especially applies if you're 18 or below, but even adults. Make sure it's not on. And also, I'll just ask you for the service, they'll be taking pictures, and there's really no reason to have it out. So if you could keep it not out at all during the service, there will be plenty of wonderful pictures. Also, if you discovered, like I did, there is candy in your bag. Hopefully everyone has the bag, but we need to save. I'm getting some big eyes now. The candy is to save, to throw at Hope at the end of the service to celebrate the sweetness of her being bat mitzvah. There is some extra to eat, but you have to wait till the end of the service. And most of all, everyone should just sit back and enjoy. Because of the COVID situation, we're going to ask, even if you know the prayers, that you do not sing along just for safety purposes. I do promise we have a wonderful cantor, and Hope has a beautiful voice and will be leading the prayers and her family chanting Torah. But I'm going to ask everyone else not to sing along. And we'll begin with the presentation of Hope's Talit, her prayer shawl. The prayer shawl, of course, has many fringes, and these fringes are called tzitzit. And the tzitzit represent the commandments. And so by Hope's parents putting on the talit on her, they're showing that they're passing on Judaism, the commandments, the values, the ethics, the teachings, all of these things they've been doing for the last 13 years and will continue to do, but will symbolically represent right now by placing the talit on her shoulders as she says the blessing. So I'm going to invite up Pam and Andy to place the talit on their daughter.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher k'ishan mitzotav v'tivanu l'chira teif bat tzitzi.
Amen. And now Hope's going to read the Talit meditation on the bottom of page 2 in the prayer book.
A talit represents the world. Its four corners are the outer reaches of the known. Its fringes are the subtle teasing of the unknown. To stand wrapped in a talit is to take your place in the world. To stand wrapped in a talit is to take responsibility for the world. To save a single life is to save an entire world. To take a single life is to destroy an entire world. May my coming into adulthood be accompanied by my taking up the challenge of standing in a talit. May I begin to learn the skills of mitzvot, the skills of living in harmony with the world. May I begin to grow in the way of wisdom that through my life I might save life.
And now Hope is going to lead us on page 3 in the Ashrei. Along with Ken.
Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, Od V'chalu Chasela.
Ashrei ha'am shekach lo, Ashrei ha'am sh'Adonai Elohav.
Tihila LeDavid, Ar Michal HaMelech, Barvacha Shimcha L'olam Va'ed.
V'chol yom ha'varchecha, v'halala shimcha le'olam va'ed.
Gedol Adonai Humchula Me'od, V'lugrato Ein Cheker.
Dor l'dor yishabach ma'asecha, u'kuratecha yagidu.
Hadar Kevod Hodecha, V'divrei Niflaotecha Asicha.
Ve'zuz mirotecha yomeru, u'kulacha asaprana.
Zecherav Tuvcha Yabiu, V'zidkatecha Yiranenu.
Chanu v'rocham Adonai, erech hapai mukdal chesed.
Tov Adonai Lachol, V'rachama Al Kol Ma'asav.
Yodu Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yivarchucha.
Kevod Malchutecha Yomeru, Ugvuratecha Yidaberu.
V'hodia livnei hadam girotav, uv'vod hadar malchuto.
Malchutecha Malchut Kolamim, Umemshatecha B'chor Dor Vador.
Somech Adonai l'chol hanoflim, v'zokeh l'chol hachupim.
Einei Chol Elecha Yisaberu, Ve'ata Notein Lahem Et Ochlam Be'ito.
Poteach et yadecha, u'masbia l'chol chai ratzon.
Zadik Adonai B'chol Devacha, V'chatzid B'chol Ma'asav.
Karov Adonai l'chol karav, l'chol asher yigrovu ve'emet.
Ritzon Yireach Ya'aseh, Ve'et Shav Atam Yishma B'Yoshiem.
Shomer Adonai et ohavav, ve'et kol hashrim yashmid.
Tihilat Adonai Yedaber Pi, V'varech Kol Basar Shem Kodesh Olam Va'ed. Va'anav Nivarech Ya, Ma'ata Ve'a'olam. Hallelujah.
And now we turn to page 4. Cantor Lehrman will lead us the top of the page in the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yikada v'yikada shemei rabba.
Amen.
V'yamad yivrach yirutei v'yamlik machutei. V'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dekol beit Yisrael. Bagala bagala uvizman kariv ve'imaru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'alam alo me'amaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yibar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemeda kudasha berichu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damin ram le'alama ve'imeru amen.
Please rise as Hope leads us in the Baruch Hu, our call to worship.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Barach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Li'olam Va'ed.
And now Hope will lead us. I invite you to read with her responsively in the English on page 5, the prayer for creation.
Praised be our eternal God, ruler of the universe, whose word brings on the evening twilight.
With wisdom you open heaven's gates, and with understanding you make the ages pass and the seasons alternate.
Your will controls the stars as they travel through the skies. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light.
You cause day to pass and bring on the night, separating day from night.
You command the host of heaven. May the living and eternal God rule us always to the end of time.
We praise you, O Eternal One,
whose word makes evening fall.
Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv atah aravim.
And now Hope will lead the next paragraph, Unending Love.
Unending is your love for your people, the house of Israel. Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts have you taught us. Therefore, O God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and rejoice in your Torah and mitzvot forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life and the length of our days. Then your love shall never depart from our hearts. We praise you, Eternal One, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
And now Hope will lead us in the central prayer in Judaism, our prayer reflecting our belief in one God, the Shema, bottom of page 5.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Please be seated. We turn now to page 6, and Hope will lead us at the top of the page in the V'ahavta.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levacha uv'chol nashbecha, v'chol meotecha, v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom alevavecha, v'shinatam levanecha, v'divartam ba'am, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uv'lachatecha v'aderech, uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha, uv'shartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, uv'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uv'isharecha.
Even as we now celebrate the holiday of Sukkot, which Hope will teach us about in a little bit in her Devar Torah, her speech from her about her Torah portion, we sing a prayer in every morning and evening service, which reminds us of our freedom from Egypt, what we celebrate on Passover. That prayer is the Michamocha. We'll read responsively in the English with Hope, and then she will sing, Cantor Lehrman will lead us in the Hebrew along with Hope.
Eternal truth is it that you alone are God and there is none else.
May all the world rejoice in your love and exult in your justice.
Let them beat their swords into plowshares.
Let them beat their spears into pruning hooks.
Let nation not lift up sword against nation. Let them study war no more.
You shall not hate another in your heart. You shall love your neighbor as yourself.
Let the stranger in your midst be to you as a native, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
From the house of bondage we went forth to freedom, so let all be free to sing with joy.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nerdar b'kodesh, no ratzehilot o sefele.
And now we turn to page 7 to the Tefillah. It's also known as the Amidah, or the standing prayer. Cantor Lehrman is going to sing the first 2 paragraphs of the Tefillah, and I invite everyone again to please rise.
Adonai tzifatayv tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, v'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol Hagivor v'Hanora, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Goel Livnei V'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Mashiach Umagim. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye metim atah Rav lehoshia. מוריד הטל. מחלחל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומיתו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיים, ומצמיע ישונה, ונאמן לתהלך חיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
Please be seated. And we turn now to page 8. When we sing Oseh Shalom, we pray for peace. Of course, people throughout the world of all religions and all types from all countries, we all pray for peace. In Judaism, one of the ways we do that is by singing Oseh Shalom. We ask that God, who brings peace in the heavens above, help us to bring peace here on earth. Cantor Lehrman will sing Oseh Shalom with hope.
Oseh shalom bimrumav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al 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 kol Yisrael. Ve'imeru amen.
It's traditional on festivals such as Sukkot to sing what is called Hallel, which is psalms of praise to God. It's a certain selections from the book of Psalms, and so we're going to do a selection from that this evening. Cantor Lehrman is going to sing Psalm 114, B'tzeit Yisrael, middle of page 8.
B'tzeit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am le'ez. B'tzeit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez. Hayta Yehuda lekocho, Yisrael mamshutav. Hayam ram v'yanos, Hayarden Yisol le'achor. Heharim rakadu che'elim, Givaot kivnei tzon. Malech HaChayam, Kitanus, Hayarden, Tisov le'achor, Ehaharim, Tirkadu che'elim, Givaot, Kivnei tzon, milifnei Adon, chuli aretz, milifnei, Elohai Yaakov, Hafchochi Havsor, Agamayim, Chalamish, Lemayenomayim.
Probably if there's any symbol that is connected with the holiday of Sukkot beyond the sukkah, the hut that is built during that holiday, it would be the lulav and the etrog. The lulav, and Hope can show us right there, it has the palm in the middle, And then on the sides, it has the willow and the myrtle, and they're actually, those are 3 different species, and together they're referred to as the lulav. And then there's the etrog, which is citron, which a lot of people think is a kind of funny shaped lemon, and it is related, but it is a fruit unto itself, and apparently can make a very good drink or a very good different recipes. But the thing that you do with the lulav in the etrog during the holiday is you shake them together. And there are many different reasons given for that. One of them is that the lulav, the palm right in the middle, is said to represent the spine. And then the willow, which is the one, the bigger one, exactly, the willow is said to represent the mouth. And then the little one, the myrtle, is said to represent the eyes. And the etrog, the yellow one, is said to represent the heart. So the idea is they represent all different parts of the body, and all of us should praise God. And that's what we're going to do right now. Hope and Cantor Lehrman and I, and I don't know if the sisters or parents want to join us as we do it right now, Hope's going to say the blessing in a moment, and we're going to shake the lulav. And then some of the lulavs will stay out here, so if anyone would like to come later after the service and have the opportunity just to look at them, or I guess they'll probably be in the other tent where everyone is, to look at them or to shake them yourselves, it can be a nice opportunity to do that, thanks to the Goldmans presented everyone with that opportunity. So I'm just going to grab my lulav. Hope didn't even need to be told that she remembered this from years past. I think you knew you were having a Sukkot bat mitzvah for a while and paid very, very good attention. You hold what's called the pitom, the pointed part, actually this part, the pitom right here goes down in your left hand, and you hold the lulav in your right hand, and you just hold them together. And what we're going to do after Hope says the blessing is we're going to shake it forward, to the right, backwards, to the left, up and down, again pointing it in all directions, showing that God is everywhere. So if you'd like to follow as Hope recites the blessing, it is on page 8, very bottom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kriyashem mitotav v'tivanu anitilat lulav.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to take up the lulav.
So now we actually switch it so the pitom is facing upwards. Everything else stays the same. Hold it together. We're going to go front, right, back, left, up, down. And even if you don't want to shake it, just smell the etrog. Don't they smell good? Did you get a chance to smell it? So we now come to our Torah service. And I think if anything really marks becoming a bat mitzvah, actually it's the being called to the Torah and reciting the blessings, but most of us identify it with reading from the Torah, which Hope is not just reading from the Torah. You are reading a long portion from the Torah, and her mom's going to be reading from the Torah, and each of her sisters, since they themselves are already age of bat mitzvah and have had their own bat mitzvah, so they're going to be reading from the Torah as well, which I think makes this all the more special of an experience for all of us. So I'm going to invite everyone to rise as Andy and Pam come forward, and they are going to present the Torah to their daughter, who will then read from it in a little bit.
As we now hold the Torah, so we once held you. Yet holding on is not the way of life, and we must begin to let you go so that you may find your own way. But we will give you more than just freedom. We will give you the tools that make your independence meaningful. Mitzvot are these tools, the skills you will need to embrace life openly and fully. We now hand you the Torah as a symbol of the power of mitzvot. May it guide you on the path to a life of peace.
As I receive the Torah from your hands, so do I accept the challenge that comes to me this day. The challenge is one of both freedom and responsibility. As I enter into a new relationship with life, seeking out the mitzvot I need to live in harmony with our people and the world, may my actions bring peace and healing to all who know me. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, Lord is one.
And now you can have a seat and you can sit back. You can close the prayer book. I ask you not to put it on the ground because it does have God's name in it out of a sign of respect, but you can put it on your lap or a chair next to you and give Hope your full attention. She will deliver her Devar Torah. Literally, that means a word of Torah. She has more than a word. But I promise you, having heard it before, that it is well worth listening to, and we all can learn a lot from her.
Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, and welcome to my Bat Mitzvah service. I want to thank you all for coming to celebrate this joyous occasion with me. We are gathered here tonight under this beautiful sukkah. A sukkah is a temporary structure that the Jews build for the holiday of Sukkot. We celebrate Sukkot to remember the time when the Israelites escaped from slavery in Egypt and headed to the Promised Land. The Israelites lived in these temporary hut-like sukkahs for the 40 years that they wandered through the desert. During Sukkot, Jews will remember this period of wandering by gathering to eat meals and even sleep in a sukkah for 7 or 8 days. The roof of a sukkah is often made with branches and leaves so that there are open areas so the people in the sukkah can still see the sky. An important aspect about a sukkah is that it is a temporary structure that is fragile and leaves us exposed to the world around us. The idea of a sukkah being temporary is very interesting to me. After thinking about it for a long time, I realized that there have been many temporary things in my life. This past year, we've all been living in a temporary world that leaves us fragile and exposed. We have all suffered in some way and had to deal with life's unexpected path. Although we all know that this is a temporary time and won't last forever, it doesn't make it any easier. During this time of quarantine and social distancing, we have been made to appreciate our lives before all this began and the simple acts that we took for granted. We didn't know that our lifestyles would change so much and that being able to just socialize in the way we used to would stop so abruptly. As time continues in this new way, it becomes the past, the way we did things before, that starts to feel temporary. Our biggest reminder of life being temporary is when we lose someone close to us, whether it's a family member, a good friend, or even a pet. Before this year, my only personal experience with being temporary was when I thought about the time I had with friends who have since moved away, or the years I spent with a pet that has now passed on. While these things are still very sad and difficult to accept, this past year has given me a whole new perspective on what it means for things to be temporary. Looking back now, I realize that I was so fortunate for all the things I used to take for granted. Now, however, I realize that going to school or camp and hanging out with friends is something that we all have taken for granted. I have learned that you need to appreciate the small moments while you have them, because even those can be temporary and you never know what will happen. I miss the times where we could get together spontaneously and not worry about getting too close or giving someone a hug or a high five. My Torah reading, Leviticus 22:26 to 23:44, and Numbers 12 through 16, explains about all the Jewish holidays and the laws associated with them. It goes into great detail and talks about all the animal sacrifices that the ancient Israelites were commanded to bring for each day of Sukkot. The Torah also repeatedly mentions that you shall not work at your occupations on the holidays. This is a law to be taken very seriously. And it goes as far as say that on Yom Kippur, if you work, you shall perish from among your people. This repetitive order from God emphasizes just how important it is for his people to rest, celebrate the holidays, and focus on each temporary occasion instead of working. Being in the moment and doing our best to be totally present is important, because if you don't, according to the Torah, you can miss the whole experience of the holiday. Becoming a bat mitzvah tonight is very important to me. Once you become a bat mitzvah, you are counted as a Jewish adult and as a full member of the Jewish community. And with this, you have more responsibility and are expected to follow the Jewish laws more closely. For me, becoming a daughter of the commandments means that I need to find my place in the Jewish community. When this special event happens, it is a magnificent feeling to know that I am participating in an event that connects me with other Jews all around the world who have also had their bar bat mitzvahs. A part of being more responsible for me is performing certain mitzvot. My mitzvah project is working with the People's Emergency Center in Philadelphia. PEC, or People's Emergency Center, offers emergency and transitional housing to those who need it. They also manage to own permanent housing for children and families in need and are dedicated to developing a neighborhood strategic plan. PEC offers food, health care, books, school supplies, and so much more to those in need. Due to the present circumstances of COVID-19, I was unable to volunteer at PEC this past summer. However, I did host blanket making sessions and collected new blankets to quarantine and donate for when they are ready to accept them. I also volunteered to deliver food relief packages to some of those families in need. As soon as they will allow me to volunteer on site, I plan to work in their food pantry and tutor some of the younger children in their center. I want to take a minute to thank some of the people that helped make this night possible. I would first like to thank Rabbi Frisch for officiating my service this evening and helping me this entire past year. I really enjoyed meeting with her every month, and I appreciate all the guidance that she gave me. I would also like to thank Cantor Lerman for being a part of this service and for adding such beautiful music to this special night. Another person I would like to thank is Jeff Lieberman for all his help in teaching me my Torah and Haftorah portions. You are such a great tutor, and I'm so glad I got to work with you. I would next like to thank my parents. Whether it's helping me with all my bat mitzvah appointments, practicing with me at home, or so many other things, they've always been there for me in support of what I wanted. I am so glad that we are spending these very special occasions together. I love you so much, and this night would not be possible without you. Last but not least, I would like to thank all my guests for coming tonight to support me and for spending this very memorable time and evening celebrating with me. Judaism, and the holiday of Sukkot in particular, reminds us that life is temporary and we should make our best efforts to cherish the good times. It is also important to me because nothing lasts forever, so you should enjoy and cherish every moment that you can and not take anything for granted. We've all suffered in some way and had to deal with friends and family being apart, but we are gathered here tonight under the sukkah that unites us. This evening is temporary as well, and so we should enjoy every minute that we have of it. For all of us here, let's take a moment to appreciate this beautiful night and this beautiful sukkah that we are all sitting in together. Shabbat Shalom.
Can I say one thing? I hope I don't embarrass you, but I have to say that one of my favorite things, and there are many about working with you, was when I had edits to your speech. Most kids would say, okay, I'll do the edit, whatever. Hope would say, no, I don't like the, not always, but if she didn't like an edit, she would be totally honest, and she would say, I'd rather say it this way. And I just love that you were invested in what you had to say, and you wanted to say it as you, and sound like you, and be you. And for a kid your age, that is quite impressive. And it came out great. So I'm really incredibly proud of you. We are now ready for our Torah reading. Hope will be reading, as will her mom and her two sisters, from the book of Leviticus, beginning with chapter 22, verse 26. It is a special reading because it is Sukkot. So Pam will be reading the very first Aliyah, and I invite Ella, Hope's older sister, one of her older sisters, to recite the blessings. Ta'amod Eli Yochana bat Yitzchak v'Pei Alea Rishon. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayadaber Adonai El Moshe Lemor. Daber El Bnei Yisrael Yamarta Alehem Ki Tavo'u El Haaretz Asher Ani Notein Lachem Uksartem Et Kitzira Vahavetem Et Omer Reshit Kitzirchem El HaKohen V'heniv et ha'omer Livnei Adonai L'rtzonechem Mimacharat HaShabbat Yinifenu HaKohen Va'asitem B'yom Hanivchem Et ha'omer Keves Tamim Ben Shinato Leolam Adonai Umichato Shnei Asronim Solet Belula Vashemen Ishe Adonai Reach Nichoach Benizko Yahin Ravit Hahin V'lechem V'kali V'karmel Lo Ha'alu Hakalu Ad Etzem Hayom Hazeh Ad Aviachem Et Korban Elohechem Hukad Olam L'dorotechem V'kol Moshvotechem
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam natan b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And now Ella will read Torah, and Sophie's invited for the second blessing. Ta'amod Zahara Tzipori Bat Yitzchak V'Peh Alea Sheni.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Usfartem lachem l'machorat haShabbat miyom haviachim et omer hatanufa sheva shabbatot timimot tehiyana ad l'machorat haShabbat hashmavit tisperu hamishim yom v'hikravtem micha hadasha l'Adonai Mimoshavtechem taviu lechem tenufa shtayim shenei asronim solet tehiyana hametz ta'afena yichorim l'Adonai v'hikravtem al halechem shivat kivasim timamim b'nei shana ufar ben bakar echad Ve'alim shayim yihiyu ola l'Adonai u'michatem v'nizkehem yishev re'ach nikoach l'Adonai va'asitem zirizim echad l'chatat u'shenei kivasim b'nei shana l'zeva shalamim v'heniv hakohen otam Lechem habikurim tenufa lifnei Adonai al shenei kevasim kodesh yihiyu l'Adonai lakohen v'hikravtem be'etzem hayom hazeh mikra kodesh yihiyeh lachem kol melecha avodah lo ta'asu chokat olam v'chol moshvotechem l'dorotechem Yitrachem eketzir arzechem lo techaleh ve'at tzadecha v'chozerecha v'lakei kozerecha lo tilaket la'ani v'lager ta'azov otam ani Adonai Elohechem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam natan b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And for the third Aliyah, Sophie will be reading from the Torah, and Mama and Papa, Jerry and Hank Stern, are invited to recite the blessings. Ya'amdu Gila bat Elia Zachaya v'Fega v'Hersh ben Herschel Shlishi.
says blessing before the reading, Torah reading. Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher bochar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen.
And the blessing after. Oh, you did it already?
Amen.
Okay.
Vayiraber Adonai al Moshe lemor. Daber el bnei Yisrael lemor. B'chodesh hashavi'i be'ehad lahodesh. Yihiyeh elahem Shabbaton. Zikron tira'ah mikra kodesh. Kol melahet avodah lo ta'asu. Vikraftem Mishel Adonai. Vayiraber Adonai al Moshe lemor. Va'asor lahodesh. Hashvi hazeh yom hakippurim hu. Mikra kodesh yihiyeh elahem. V'initem en ashertehem. V'tish'ala.
V'hikraftem.
Mikraftem Mishel Adonai. V'kom laha lo ta'asu. Be'etzem hayom hazeh. Ki yom kippurim hu. V'kaper alehem. Lifnei Adonai Elohem. Ki kol hanefesh asher letu'uneh. Be'etzem hayom hazeh. V'nikrata me'mecha. V'kol hanefesh asher ta'aseh kol melaha be'etzem hayom hazeh va'ahavati et hanefesh hahi mikerav hama kol melaha lo ta'asu hu ka'at olam l'dorotehem v'chol moshvotehem Shabbat Shabbaton hu lahem v'initem en ashertehem Tisha lahodesh ba'erev Me'erev ad erev Tishvatu Shabbatehem.
Oh, this is the same thing. It's the same thing. All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nota b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen. And now for the fourth Aliyah, Hope will be chanting from the Torah, and her parents
Okay.
will be reciting the blessings.
Okay.
Yeah, do Pe'alea bat Hersh v'Gila v'Yitzchak ben Michael v'Yehudi Revi'i.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai El Moshe Lemor Daber El Bnei Yisrael Lemor B'chamisha Asar Yom Lachodesh HaShvi'i Hazeh Chag HaSukkot Shiva Shamim Lanai Bayom Harishon Mikra Kodesh Kol Malachet Avodah Lo Tasu Shiva Shamim Takrivi Shel Laonai Bayom Hashemini Mikra Kodesh Yihiyeh Lachem Vikraftem Yishel Laonai Atzeret Ki Kol Malachet Avodah Lo Tasu Eileh Madei Adonai Asher Tikra'u Otam Mikra'ei Kodesh Likriv Isheh LaAdonai Ola Mincha Zebach V'Nsachim Divrei Yom B'Yomo Milvad Shabbatot Adonai Umilvad Matanotechem Umilvad Kol Nidrechem Umilvad Kol Nidvotechem Asher Titnu Lanai Ach B'chamisha Asar Yom Lachodesh HaShvi'i V'asbechem et Tivuat Haaretz Tachogo Haganai Shiva Shamim Bayom Harishon Shabbaton Ubayom Hashemini Shabbaton Ukaktem Lachem Bayom Harishon Periei Tazar Kepot Timarim V'anaf Ezavot V'arbei Nachal Usmaktem Lifnei Adonai Chechem Shiva Shamim V'chagotem Oto Chag Lanai Shiva Shamim Basana Chukad Olam L'Dorotechem B'chodesh HaShvi'i Tachogu Oto B'Sukkot Teshivu Shiva Shamim Kol HaYisrach B'Yisrael Yeshivu B'Sukkot Lema'an Yedeu Dorotechem Chi B'Sukkot Hushavti et Bnei Yisrael V'chozi otam me'eretz Mitzrayim Ani Adonai Elokechem V'yadaber Moshe et moadei Adonai El Bnei Yisrael.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Please rise for the lifting and wrapping of our first Torah.
V'zot HaTorah asher sam Moshe Lifnei b'nei Yisrael api Adonai b'yad Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe.
Please be seated. Hope is preparing now to actually read from a different Torah because she just read from Leviticus, the third book of Torah. Now she's going to read what's called the Maftir, or additional Torah reading that comes from somewhere else in the Torah. It's from Numbers, the fourth book of the Torah. And the reason it's from a different book is because it's a holiday. We have a special Maftir that talks about the sacrifices that were made back in the temple on the holiday of Sukkot. So Hope will be reading from Numbers chapter 29, verses 12 through 16, and she herself will have the honor of reciting the blessings both before and after the Torah reading. Or, not right. Ta'amot tikva talor bat Yitzchak v'pei alea b'chorat bat hamitzvah lemaftir chazak. Baruch Adonai Barach le'olam ba'ed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Ba'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Ubachamisha asar yom lachodesh hashvi'i mikra kodesh yeh lachem kol melechet avodah lo tasu v'chagotem chag l'Adonai shivat shamim v'hikraftem olah yishay re'ach nichoch l'Adonai harim b'nei bakar שלושה עשר אלים שניים כבשים בני שנה 14 תמימים יהיו ומנחתם סולת ולב השמם 13 לפר האחד ל13 פרים 12 לאיות האחד לשני העלים ויסרון לכבש האחד ל14 כבשים ושעיר זים אחד חטאת מלבד עולת התמיד מנחתה ונזכר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. And we rise again for the lifting and the wrapping of our second Torah scroll.
V'zot ha'Torah asher sam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael api Adonai b'yad Moshe al shlosha devarim al shlosha devarim al shlosha devarim ha'olam omed al shlosha devarim al shlosha devarim al shlosha devarim ha'olam omed al haTorah ve'al avodah ve'al gemilut hasmadim al haTorah ve'al avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim.
Please be seated, and please join responsively with Hope in the reading of the prayer for our country in middle top of page 11.
Our God and God of our ancestors, bless this country and all who dwell within it. Help us to experience the blessings of our lives and circumstances, to be vigilant, compassionate, and brave. Strengthen us when we are afraid. Help us to channel our anger so that it motivates us to action. Help us to feel our fear so that we do not become numb. Help us to be generous with others so that we raise each other up. Help us to be humble in our fear, knowing that as vulnerable as we feel, there are those at greater risk, and that it is our holy work to stand with them. Help us to help us to taste the sweetness of liberty, to not take for granted the freedoms won in generations past or in recent days.
Source of all life, guide our leaders with righteousness. Strengthen their hearts, but keep them from hardening, that they may use their influence and authority to speak truth and act for justice.
May we be strong and have courage, to be bold in our action and deep in our compassion, to discern when we must act and what must listen. May all who dwell
in this country share in its bounty, enjoy its freedom, and be protected by its laws. May this nation use its power and wealth to be a voice for justice, power, peace, and equality for all who dwell on earth. And now Hope will read the prayer for Israel.
Our Father in heaven, rock and redeemer of the people Israel, bless the state of Israel with its promise of redemption. Shield it with your love. Spread over it in the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help us with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them. Crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the lands with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us say Amen.
Amen. And as Cantor Lehrman leads us in the Mishaberach prayer for healing on the top of page 12, I invite each person here to have in your minds and in your prayers and your hearts any family members or friends who may be in need of healing, whether it be Refuat HaNefesh, healing of spirit, or Refuat HaGuf, healing of body.
Mi sheberach avotenu mikor chabracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mikor chabracha ve'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
And now Hope is going to recite the Haftarah. Haftarah comes from the book of Prophets. It is from the book of Zechariah. And this Haftarah includes a prophecy regarding the Messianic era, that at the end of days, all of the nations will go to Jerusalem, and everyone will go there on Sukkot to pay homage and respect to God. The Haftarah is not in the booklet, so again, I invite everyone to just sit back and to listen as Hope chants the blessings and the Haftarah in this ancient melody itself, and just to enjoy the sounds and the message that she is delivering.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza v'divrei hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habuher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'inviei ha'emet v'tzedek. Hine yom Adonai v'hulak shlalech b'kirbech v'asafti et kol hagoyim el Yerushalayim lemilchama v'nilkada ha'ir v'nashasu habatim v'hanashim tishachavna v'yatza chatzi ha'ir bagala v'yeter ha'am lo yikaret min ha'ir v'yatza Adonai v'nilcham bagoyim ha'hem keyom hilachamo b'yom karav v'amadu raglav b'yom hahu al har hazeitim asher al pnei Yerushalayim mikadam v'nivka har hazeitim mechatyo mizracha v'yama gegedola meod umashchatzi har tzafona v'hetyo negba v'nastem geharai ki agia geharim el tzal v'nastem kasher nastem mipnei harash Bimei Uziach Melech Yehuda Uva Adonai Elohai Kol Kadoshim Imach V'haya bayom hahu lo yeh ur Yekarot v'kibaon V'haya yom echad hu Yivada Adonai lo yom ve'lo laila V'haya leit erev yeh ur V'haya bayom hahu Heitu Mayim ha'im Mirushalayim Chet yam el hayam hakadamoni V'chet yam el hayam ha'acharon V'akayit uv'achur v'yeh V'haya Adonai L'melech al kol ha'aretz B'yom hahu Yihya Adonai Echad Hashem el echad Yisov kol ha'aretz Karava Migav al Rimon Negev Yerushalayim V'ra'ama v'yashva tachtecha L'mishar b'yamin amekom Sha'ar harishon Ashar hapinim Umigdal chananel Al yikvei hamelech V'yashivu ba V'cherem lo yihya od V'yashiva Yerushalayim lo betach V'zot Tihya hamagefa Asher yigof Adonai Et kol ha'amim Asher save'u Al Yerushalayim Hamek b'saro V'hu Omed al raglav Ve'nav Timak na v'chorehem U'shano timak b'fihem V'haya bayom hahu Tihya mehunat Adonai Rabba bahem V'checheziku Ish yad re'ehu V'alata yado al yad re'ehu V'gam Yehuda Tilachein b'Yerushalayim V'usaf Chilkul hagoyim Saviv zacha v'chesef Uvgadim l'rov me'od V'chein tihya Magefat hasus ha'peret Hagamal v'chachamor V'chol ha'behema Asher yihya Mamachanot ha'hema Kemagefa hazot V'haya Kol hanotar Mikol hagoyim Habayim al Yerushalayim V'alu midei shana V'shana Lihishtachavot L'melech Adonai Sebaot L'achol ged hakasukot V'haya Asher lo ya'ala Me'ed mishpachot ha'aretz El Yerushalayim Lihishtachavot L'melech Adonai Sebaot V'lo alihem yihya hagashem Ve'im mishpachet Mitzrayim lo ta'aleh V'lo va'a v'lo alihem Tihya hamagefa Asher yigov Adonai Et hagoyim Asher lo ya'alu L'achol ged hakasukot Zot tihya chatat Mitzrayim V'chatat kol hagoyim Asher lo ya'alu L'achol ged hakasukot Bayom hahu Yihya metzilot hasus Kodesh la'Adonai V'haya hasirot b'veit Adonai Kamizrakim lifnei hamizbeach V'haya Kol sir b'Yerushalayim Uvihuda Kodesh la'Adonai Sebaot Uva'u klazot v'chim Lachachu mehem u'ishlu v'ahem Lo yihya kanani od B'vei Adonai Sebaot Bayom hahu Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Zor kol ha'olamim Tzadik b'chol hadorot Ha'el ha'ne'eman Ha'mer v'oseh Hamdaber u'mkayim Shachol devarav Emet v'tzedek Ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu V'ne'emani devarecha V'davar echad midvarecha Orchol lo yasu rekam Ki al melech ne'eman v'rachaman ata Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Shemo.
Ha'el ha'ne'eman b'chol devarav
Amen.
Rachein al Zion ki hi beit hayenu Va'aluvat nefesh toshiach, b'mirav yameinu, Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo.
Misameach Sion b'vanecha.
Amen.
Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu, V'yachu hanavi avdecha, Uv'machut b'David mishichecha, B'mhaira yavo v'yagel libeinu, Al kiso lo yeshem zor, V'lo yinchilu od acherim et kivodo, Ki v'shem kodshecha nishbata lo, Shelo yichbed neiro l'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo.
Magen David.
Amen.
Al haTorah v'al havodah v'al hanvim v'yom haShabbat hazeh v'yom hakasukot hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnucha l'sason u'simcha l'chavod u'tifaret. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umvachim otach Yitbarach Shimcha b'fi kol hai tomid le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo.
Mekadesh HaShabbat v'Yisrael v'Hazmanim.
Amen. You nailed it. When I first met you, I think you knew or were learning the first line of that Haftorah. So to hear you chant that so comfortably, like you've known it forever, is really beautiful. And it is a joy to invite your mom, who's going to join you on our bima.
That's amazing. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Andy and I want to welcome all of you here tonight and thank you for joining us for Hope Spot Mitzvah. We are so sincerely grateful to each and every one of you who are sitting here with us this evening in person and who are with us online. We are so appreciative that you have joined us in any way possible. Hope, my love, Mazel Tov. You were extraordinary this evening, giving your Devar Torah, chanting from the Torah, reciting your Haftarah, and leading the service for all of your friends and family. I hope you are so very proud of yourself. As your father and I couldn't be any prouder. Hope your hard work and diligence to practicing daily was evident. But what might not be so obvious was that your dedication truly came from yourself. Your father and I did not have to remind you to practice, as this became part of your daily responsibilities on your own out of a sheer sense of maturity and drive to master your portions, just like you have always tackled everything that has come your way. Hope, your dedication to conquering a task is nothing new. In the same way we saw you determined to master the service for your bat mitzvah, your father and I have seen you dedicated to everything you have always wanted to accomplish. This dedication, I believe, comes from an inner strength that you have unmatched by many others. According to the Torah, this dedication fuels love, of which you also have an infinite amount to give. When you love, you are dedicated to someone, your concerns become secondary, while theirs become a priority. You put others' health and happiness above your own and truly wish the best for them, independent from your own personal satisfaction. Hope, throughout the years, you have shown us an incredible sense of love and caring for others. Your love has been so great, it has guided me through the most difficult of times and has supported me in ways that will continue on forever. Your love and dedication to your family and friends is evident by all those surrounding you here tonight. And as they are fortunate to be a part of your life and be a recipient of your love, you are also so very fortunate to be able to receive this love right back. Hope, your dedication and love will serve you well. As you take on more responsibilities as a full-fledged member in Jewish society and begin to enter adulthood, I know you will challenge yourself in ways that we can only begin to imagine. Your sense of responsibility and maturity will continue to develop, but it is this love and dedication that will guide you through life. Hope, continue on this path that you have begun. Dedicate yourself to doing mitzvahs, the good deeds that put others' needs above your own desires. Dedicate yourself to loving all those around you, even as you encounter life's obstacles. And remember to always love, because love is all you will ever need. I love you with all my heart and soul.
And I just want to give a shout out to your mom, because I know that I 100% believe what she said, Hope, that you were totally self-motivated, and I could see that. But she was also, when we would work together, always by your side, always interested in what you were learning and what you were doing, and really, was just so committed to being part of the experience and the service and everything that went on. It was really touching to see the two of you together. And it's been amazing to watch you tonight. I'm not surprised after our rehearsal the other night, in total control of the bima. I mean, it's not normal or typical for the bat mitzvah to be up there at your age without the rabbi to be helping them do everything. You took care of the Torahs. You're telling everyone else what to do during the Torah service after one rehearsal. And that's the first time I'd seen you in about 6 months. And that's quite amazing. Today, I was thinking there are two things that have come up this week that have really made me think of you. One is I invited a young man to teach a class I teach recently at my synagogue on Zoom the other day. And he taught about a very famous rabbinic saying, which is Gam zu latov, this too is for good. And his teaching, he's very traditional, and he said that means that everything that happens God wants, and it's always good. And I said, yes, and I know that's a teaching. I theologically don't agree with that, and I believe that things happen and that God doesn't want bad things to happen, but it's our responsibility as humans not to say they were meant for good, but to make the best we can out of them. And to watch you and the way you did your mitzvah project and took a difficult situation and made it better for people. That's what I believe Gam zu latov is really all about. It's taking what may not be good inherently, but being in essence God's agent here on earth to make things better and to make the world a little bit better because you were in it. And to me, that is the essence of being a Jew. And so the fact that you're starting that as you become bat mitzvah, that is every bit as important as the lots and lots of Torah you read and the long Haftorah portion and all these wonderful things you did. But I love the idea that you get that Judaism is about more than that. And it's also about the person you are and how you interact in the world and how you help other people. And you understand that you're very lucky to live the life that you lead, and not everyone's that fortunate, and to have this sense already that you want to do as you grow up in the world things to help people less fortunate. And then the other is actually a saying that's been one of my favorite sayings for about 30 years now, is Gam ze ya'avor, which is this too shall pass. And there is a story, very famous story, that King Solomon had a ring. I actually happen to have a ring that says it as well. And King Solomon had a ring that said, this too shall pass. And one day someone went up to him and said, do you look at that when you're really sad? And it reminds you it won't last forever. And he said, yeah, I do. When I'm really sad, I look at the ring and I remember that something that's sad won't last forever. But more importantly, I look at it when I'm having a good time. And I remember it won't last forever. And I remember that I need to treasure it. And I thought of you when I was thinking this saying, because you talked about that in your Devar Torah, of the importance of treasuring good moments. And again, as I said at the beginning of the service, we are not in an easy time in the world. And I know the bat mitzvah wasn't exactly how you imagined it would be. You didn't imagine people would be sitting apart from each other. They weren't going to be wearing masks. There are certain things that really weren't in the original plan. But you could have just said, forget it, or, I'll wait a year or do something different. But you were very committed to, I want to do this now and I want to do it and we're going to make it work. And I think to be able to do that and have that outlook and say, I'm going to treasure what I have. And I hope tonight of all nights you can look around and see all these people here and how much they care about you and how special you are to them, both the ones physically here and the ones who are electronically here. And I hope that you will treasure this night and remember this will pass. You talked about the temporary nature of life and how we have to appreciate things. And hopefully there will be in your life so many wonderful good things to appreciate and treasure, and always keep that message that Gam ze ya'avor, this too shall pass, or as you said, appreciate what is temporary and hold on to it. You actually gave a very deep Jewish message there, and I hope that you will always remember that lesson, not that just that you have embodied, but that we all have had the good fortune to learn from you. So I really, on behalf of everyone here, want to thank you for all that you've taught us tonight. I want to thank you personally for the experience of working with you and all that I have learned from you and your determination and persistence and just the way you approach this entire process. I have for you a bat mitzvah certificate I'll give you. It says, this is to record that Tikva Talor Bat Yitzhak Bapea Leah, Hope, is it Taylor or Talor in English? Hope Taylor Goldman was called to the Torah as a bat mitzvah on Sabbath, the first night of Sukkot, 15th of the month of Tishrei, 5781, in the presence of a congregation of family and friends in Marion Station, Pennsylvania. And this is, as I said, just one of hopefully many, many moments for you to treasure. So right before you say the Shehechianu, I want to say a blessing to you. And it's probably a blessing that was said at your baby naming. It is a blessing that will be said, God willing, one day under the chuppah, under the wedding canopy for you at those special moments of your life. But right now, we just want to focus on it being said right here at your bat mitzvah after you have led this service so incredibly competently and so beautifully. And I'm asking on behalf of all of us, God's blessing upon you. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. May God's countenance shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God always be with you, your family, and all those who love you. And may you have throughout your life many, many blessings come true, but most of all, the blessing of shalom, of wholeness, and of peace. And now I'm going to invite you to recite a blessing that we say at happy times in our lives when we have reached significant occasions on the bottom of page 12, the Shehechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechechianu v'kiyimanu v'higiyanu lasman hazeh.
Amen. So we've already returned the Torah to the Ark, so we're actually going to skip the top of page 13, and we're going to turn to the bottom of 13. I'm going to ask everyone to please rise as Cantor Lehrman recites the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gedula l'yotzer breshit, shelo asani kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kishmechot hadama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gohor aleinu kecho hamonam, ve'anachnu korim, umishtachavim, umodim, Lifnei Melech Malchei Hamlachim Hakadosh Baruch Hu V'nemar V'haya Adonai L'melech al kol haaretz Bayom hahu Yeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad.
Please be seated. We come now on page 14 to Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. And sometimes it is at the happiest times in our lives that it is the hardest that we don't have those we have loved here with us to share in those joy with us. And we remember them. And I know that I'm sure many of us hold those we've loved in our hearts. I just want to note that the mourner's Kaddish, in fact, is not a prayer about death at all. It actually is a prayer that praises God. And as we recite it, we praise God for our lives and the lives of those we loved. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Bi'alama divrach chirutei v'yamlech malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam ulamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha b'rechu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran ba'ama v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. And now it is a joy to invite up Bowie and Seneca, Hope's cousins, who are going to help her in singing in Kelohenu on page 15.
Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kamokeinu, Ein Kamoshienu, Mi Kamokeinu, Mi Kadonenu, Mi Kamokeinu, Mi Kamoshienu. No del Eloheinu, no del Adonenu, no del Amokeinu, no del Moshienu. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkienu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shekiru, Avotenu, Lefanecha et Ketorah Hasamim.
And now, make sure you've got your candy ready. And as Cantor Lehrman leads us in Siman Tov U'Mazel Tov, even if we can't sing with her, we can clap along and throw candy.
Siman Tov, a Mazel Tov, a Mazel Tov, a Siman Tov, Siman Tov, a Mazel Tov, a Mazel Tov, a Siman Tov, Siman Tov, a Mazel Tov, a Mazel Tov, a Siman Tov, Yehi Lanu, Yehi Lanu, Yehi Lanu, U'Lecho Yisrael, Yehi Lanu, Yehi Lanu, U'Lecho Yisrael, Yehi Lanu, Yehi Lanu, U'Lecho Yisrael, Yehi Lanu, Yehi Lanu, U'Lecho Yisrael.
Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov.
So do you want people to go to the other tent?
We'd like to invite you all to proceed to the tent behind us for the continuing celebration of the evening.